And then it was time for the Colohunity to drown in the sweet sorrow of spoiler warning. Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue. The main story tonight will be the evolution of the ongoing storyline with The Rock, with Cody Rhodes, with Triple H, with WrestleMania, with Roman Reigns, with Seth Rollins, even now with Drew McIntyre and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's been wild, it's been crazy, it's been fun, and I think that's the key takeaway I want to have from this. It's been fun. We have a lot to dive into. As you'd imagine, the vast majority of our headlines come directly from the press conference. We're going to talk what the original plan was for the press conference, how Brock Lesnar would have played into it, how Vince McMahon was involved in the WWE Speed concept, which will be launching over the next few months through a 2-year deal. We're going to talk about the actual pivots in storyline that have been laid out, why they happened, the ad-lib, which has become viral from The Rock, instructions that Cody Rhodes was given when it comes to his promo. I'll give you a hint, he wasn't given a lot of information, he was just told to go crazy, and why the hell not? And plenty more in the meantime also. We've got CM Punk, we've got Seth Rollins, we've got Roman Reigns and whether or not he'll be live tonight and why, one way or the other. So plenty to be diving into. As usual at this point, I am going to start with the first piece of news. I will reiterate over the course of the show. I know that's not normal, but it's big news. I can see plenty of people in the chat. Thank you for chatting. You do give me a massive boost to this channel and to its growth, and to find people when you're chatting and when you hit like. So we have 66 people here, 20 likes so far. Let's see how many we can get while I go through what will be the first piece of news, and after that we'll dive into questions. So the WWE press conference was booked quite a while ago. This was in the build-up to the WrestleMania launch, as it were, featuring The Rock. The return of The Rock is a huge selling point for this year's WrestleMania, and it was sold to the WWE, more specifically Triple H, as if you're calling it XL, you have to have The Rock. The original plan for this kickoff show, even as recently as 1 week ago, was The Rock and Roman Reigns having a stare down, potentially having a weigh-in, really hyping up the possibility and the guarantee of Rock versus Reigns being our WrestleMania main event. Cody Rhodes would have been there for a different reason. They have pivoted away from the original plan. The event did sell quite a few tickets for the after party. We're talking like the tickets that cost $2,500. Those sold primarily to pretty big business names, but the event itself was generally not very well attended, despite being pretty hyped and also being a free show. The Rock was there, and it wasn't exactly a full house. The WWE disappointed by the turnout. This is a black mark against The Rock. As I said on Monday, The Rock was trying to make a point, trying to make a statement that he was able to sell tickets and fill rooms. He was not successful in doing so. Now, why the pivot? The Rock has listened to Triple H, the Chief Content Officer, after holding meetings with he and Brian Gewirtz in the last few days. I mentioned on Monday, Brian Gewirtz, who was brought in to be The Rock's voice in creative, had not communicated all that much with Triple H. That has now changed. Under the advice of Triple H, The Rock has pivoted to heel, and in many ways, he's now aligned with Roman Reigns. They rushed that graphic out of the family tree, and they really had to in the end. Now, Roman does feel a little bit reduced by his association with The Rock, but The Rock has fully embraced the heel character. The WWE were planning The Rock to face Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania, but Triple H called the audible, and The Rock listened to him. Triple H always planned to find a way to get Cody Rhodes back in the main event, but not necessarily this quickly. The deal between Triple H and The Rock essentially came down to one person telling the other, read the room. That was enough to make these two connect once again and actually come to an understanding of what they needed to do going forwards. Next piece of news will be about what The Rock ad-libbed, which is now gone viral. Let's keep those likes coming, guys. We have 88 people here, 31 likes so far. What I'm going to do in this moment is pop over to the Twitter side and announce that the show is now live. So we are now live join us to find out what's going on. Nice and easy. In case anyone would like to share it, that is now my latest tweet on the old Twitter file. Good to see so many people and so many familiar faces already. 34 likes so far. Plenty that can still go, I'm sure. As I go through the next piece of news, what I'd like from all of you is to give me a reaction. Did you want The Rock? Did you want Cody? And are you satisfied with where we have now landed? Answer that question for me. I will continue with the news, and then once we finish this part, we will then start taking questions. The Rock did ad-lib a brief section of the press conference that has now gone viral. It is not the slap that was planned, and that was a discussion between Cody and The Rock to essentially go into the fight via the good old-fashioned stare down, weigh in, whatever you want to call it. The ad-lib came a little bit after that. The Rock ad-libbed telling Triple H during an interview of Triple H that he needed to fix it. Essentially communicating with Triple H to say, you're the guy in charge here, you need to fix Cody and get him sorted out. This was also an opportunity for The Rock to prove his commitment, to make a clear message and a clear statement to Triple H that The Rock had his back and had fully signed onto the deal going forwards. Triple H at the time did not know how to react, saying that The Rock was out of line. The Rock read this, wasn't able to come up with too much on the spot, so he veered off and backed out, but the actual end result came together very nicely, and it's already been shared all over social media. The intention going forwards is that there will be more press conferences like this, particularly given how well it's been received. The press conference is the first of many, with plans to, as I mentioned on Monday, legitimize the WWE as genuine sports. The Rock and Nick Khan are at the forefront of plans in an attempt to draw as much mainstream attention as possible. They were a little disappointed with the media turnout. You can see by some of the people there that they were primarily wrestling outlets, and that is not what the WWE are trying to appeal to. It's why none of them got a deal and a moment with The Rock. By and large, mission accomplished as regards mainstream media though. It is being considered a massive success for the WWE in terms of business investment and overall creative impact, plus that social media score, though not necessarily a financial and an in-person at the time success. The original plans for the press conference did include a Brock Lesnar and Gunther stare down. This was replaced by Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Now the match still technically isn't official between the two of them, but the WWE were attempting to connect with mainstream media who aren't necessarily watching week in and week out. So they essentially got ahead of themselves, and hey, if you think the actual world title scene's all over the place, you might be a little confused as well by the fact that Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley is going to be pretty obvious what's going to happen going forwards. We have plenty more news to discuss. CM Punk situation, Cody's instructions before his promo, the plans for WWE Speed, Seth Rollins' plan for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Roman Reigns on SmackDown tonight. I'll give you a hint. No, he ain't, and I can tell you why. So, this is a time when I'd like to ask you to bring your questions to the group, as it were. Usually we go into questions pretty quickly, but there was a big piece of news I wanted to cover. It's been happening a lot in the last few, I promise you that. I will not have been able to catch up on everything because a lot of it will have been deleted by now, but I always really enjoy the enthusiasm in there. So if you've had questions, drop them in now. We'll start catching up. I'm going to start with Michael saying they're not getting the mainstream media turnout that they want. They drilled into everyone's head for 50 years that it's not a sport. They are trying to change it now. King Alice says, hey Tom, are they going to do the same finish as they were going to with Rock but with Cody? No. Coot says, hello Tom, when is Rey Mysterio expected to be back from injury? He was originally expected back for the Royal Rumble. To my knowledge, he is fine. They're just keeping him out of the picture at the moment because they don't have any creative plans for him. No, 23, I do not think Vincent Kennedy McMahon was set up. I think Vincent Kennedy McMahon was accused of something heinous, so he left. Hey Cody, how you doing mate? Been a little while. Joey says, do you have any news on Scott D'Amore getting fired from TNA? A little bit. just a little bit of detail that I can dive into here. Scott D'Amore was the driving force behind the idea of TNA trying to challenge and potentially overtake AEW. Scott D'Amore was the architect of a working arrangement with the WWE, and this did sort of sour the mood a little bit with AEW. Tony Khan is not believed to be particularly happy with the fact that Jordynne Grace appeared in the Royal Rumble. Scott D'Amore was also the one putting big money offers on the table for CM Punk, for Mercedes Money, and indeed for Will Ospreay. Money which it's not believed that TNA could actually afford. Scott D'Amore fought a little too hard, and he is no longer with the company. There are a number of other things that are at play here, but nothing I can say officially. Bailey says, Tom, do you see the WWE speed matches focusing on lower card performers? More on that shortly. Spider-Boss says, WWE made it pretty obvious having Becky versus Rhea stare down last night. Becky is winning the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Razar says, Seth seems so out of place at the press conference, that title seems so irrelevant. That is the intention at this point. 23 Fresh is asking me to tell him who the winner is of WrestleMania. Why do you watch wrestling, 23 Fresh? Genuine question, because if you're asking for the winner of the biggest match of the year, you might not be a fan. Selvig says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. I want to know what's the deal with Becky and Seth contract status? Is there going to be a mass exodus in TNA since Scott got fired? So 2 questions. Firstly, as regards to Becky and Seth contract, I mentioned that on Monday. Plans are ongoing. The intention seems to be that Becky and Seth are looking for limited dates and a bit of time off without losing too much money. The WWE are looking for a bit less money. Negotiations are ongoing. As regards Scott D'Amore, as I've explained, which I can see Steve asking about as well, I don't see a mass exodus, no. In fact, I see a whole division being overall pretty happy with the situation. The Godfather, welcome, says, could we get Rock versus Seth for night 1? Pretty much at this point, everything is on the table. I wouldn't rule anything out. I don't see it happening. Squid says, what a great press conference yesterday. That really was fun. Definitely one to remember. Certainly, if they're able to keep the momentum that they built from it, I'm very excited for where they're going. HCast says, any news on WWE 2K24 DLC? The only news I've got is that, to my knowledge, they are planning to have CM Punk as DLC at this point, though that also may be a patch, there also may be a day 1 patch to remove Brock Lesnar. Bismarck says he's switching from Cherry Coke to Mountain Dew. Orange juice. Orange juice. I'm trying to not poison my body as much as I used to. Hector says you can tell The Rock's still living in the past because the Cody Crybabies thing isn't too clever or funny. It feels like an early 2000s Rock insult. Well, mate, he is The Rock. Not too much surprise there. Wrestler Fan says, will The Rock still be wrestling at WrestleMania 40? Likely, yes. The Rock is believed to be fit, firing, and ready to go. The plan was to have him wrestle in the main event this year. He will be ready to wrestle. As I go through the different questions that are coming in now, please do remember the growth of the channel is built entirely on engagement during these shows. We currently have 116 people, but only 45 likes. 5 more gets us to 50, which is a great number to have this early in the show. It also means more views, more people, and subsequently more likes. So if we're able to get anywhere close to what we got on Monday, I'd be a very happy boy. Honestly, I'm pretty happy overall right now, let's be fair. King Azza says, Tom, do you see them doing Seth and Cody versus Rock and Roman at Elimination Chamber? No, Roman Reigns is not booked for the Elimination Chamber. Cody says, the way this plays out is intriguing to me. I feel like we're headed to Cody Seth versus Roman Rock Elimination Chamber, Cody versus Roman on Mania Night 1, Roman versus Rock on Night 2. My opinion is that The Rock will wrestle his first match back at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns is not currently planned for the Elimination Chamber. Welcome, Wiggly. Nice to see you, mate, and thank you very much for renewing your subscription for a total 29th month. Thank you kindly for your generosity and for continuing to essentially fund this channel. For those who aren't channel members on YouTube, just to be very clear, a lot of what I'm talking about in The Rock and Roman Reigns, in The Rock and Cody Rhodes, I will be breaking down without any of the questions and anything like that in a members only video. We'll be going into a lot more detail as regards the press conference itself and the intentions there. So if you are interested in that, now's the time to become a channel member. You can be a channel member for as little as $1 a month for the channel supporter scheme, or if you'd like to generously donate a little more, there is a $5 option as well. Joey says, do you know if Triple H is interested in bringing in Scott D'Amore for a creative role? Nope. Spiderball says, I missed Bailey last night at the press conference last night. That's a double last night because it hurts him that much. Khalid is very excited for Triple H and Bayley segment. Chris is also saying Bayley segment tonight on SmackDown. There is a little bit on Bayley to come. There was no plans to have her involved at all in the actual press conference. There was no plan to have a women's segment at all. The plan originally was Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. Sean says, any more details on Amari Miller's departure from WWE? There is nothing being hidden from you. Amari Miller and the WWE, neither side was really interested in renewing her contract. She's gone to essentially try things elsewhere, which, fair enough. Joey, we don't know about the main event, but The Rock, to my knowledge, is not off the card as of yet. They will need to find something for him, though. Spider-Boss says, I like seeing The Rock join the Bloodline. Heel Rock is really good. Luke says, Stephanie's title have been made too weak. They definitely have made that championship look very weak. Seth has a big challenge ahead of him and needs a big opponent in order to make it fit. CM Punk would have made it massive alongside Seth Rollins. It is a shame. Chris says, does Scott D'Amore go ahead and join another company? I think it'd be a steal for whoever takes him on. There is interest from a number of companies. AEW, not one of them. WWE, not one of them. He will have to drop a little further down. What up, Wiggly? Nice to see you, and thank you kindly. I've been dressing up for you guys lately, what can I say? No, Caesar, I will not be doing a watch party today. The watch parties are on hold until further notice. On hold until further notice. Calvin says, who do you think will be the next challenger for Logan Paul? My layout in my head is that he'll have a rematch against Kevin Owens at the Elimination Chamber, and he will lose the championship to LA Knight at WrestleMania. The dude, what do you mean? I'm sorry, I missed where we're connecting there. A bit more. Gotcha. Right, sorry, I didn't realise you were having a separate conversation. Please do continue. Daniela says, Tom, is there any reason why Randy, LA Knight and Styles haven't been on TV for over a week? I know it's not been long, but it was weird not to have them on SmackDown last week. Thoughts? The idea seems to be that they're likely to be involved in the Elimination Chamber. They can't hype the actual Chamber match because they haven't announced it yet. More on that later. Mark says, I know you said Gunther was going for Brock. Now he has Jay. Is he going after Seth at WrestleMania? No. One says, hey Tom, looks like TK's big announcement that he got Mercedes money didn't draw. That's what happens when his announcement are ratings bait. It drew okay, but let's just say all of the reports that she wasn't going to be there said a lot about the future. The fact that the, Fightful, Wrestling Observer, both reported we wouldn't see her until March, basically took the wind out of his sails a little bit, and he's not happy about that. What I will say, for anyone who didn't see it, by all means pop onto my Twitter and you'll see a Mercedes Money fan who seemed to decide that they were Mercedes Money and also Mercedes Money's boyfriend. She's married to someone else, mate. It's really weird. It's really creepy. I suggest you check it out because it's just wild. Full on wild. Wrestler Fan says, will there be the usual WrestleMania Battle Royals for the men and women? They're currently being put together as we speak. It's a big WrestleMania payday and Triple H actually isn't as big a fan of those, so they are less likely than they were, but there are still people pushing for them. Most notably, Bruce Pritchard. Raymond says, I would start WrestleMania Night 1 with Cody Rock and end Night 2 with Cody Roman. Bookend the event, making it Cody Mania. Well, it certainly seems like Rock Roman isn't happening, so Cody Rock seems to fit the bill. Zane Charles didn't really care whether it was Rock or Cody versus Roman. Good to know that you get a win either way. Jim says Cody versus Rock Night 1, then Cody versus Roman Night 2. And James Stewart says for WrestleMania, the glass needs to shatter. Glass ceiling? Is that what we're going for? Spider-Boss says the Roman and Rock alliance is pretty interesting. I want to know what they will do next. You're going to find out shortly. No age car, nothing on the Hall of Fame as of yet. Spider-Boss says, I loved how Tony Khan hinted Mercedes' AEW debut on Dynamite. So the AEW, Mercedes money to AEW, I'm really proud of my reporting on this one. So I did report when she was going to have the first meeting with Tony Khan. That was just before her injury. She was going to meet just after. I then reported in detail about one of the main reasons she doesn't want to return to WWE, that being the actual mainstream press coverage and the, let's just say, crap that she has to endure. I then followed up by saying something seems to have changed, her head's been turned a little bit, there's been a massive WWE offer. Shortly afterwards, a couple of days, we started seeing that elsewhere. Shortly afterwards, I was able to report she will be going to AEW as soon as I had confirmation, and that, at this point, is set in stone. So I'm very proud of my reporting on that one. Wiggly says, I think Rock versus Roman on night 1 and Roman wins. A lot of people with their predictions. I love it. Keep it going, guys. Joey says, where do you see Jacob Fatu landing? I have absolutely no information whatsoever about Jacob Fatu or anything that he is planning. Cody says, all of the unfounded speculation is what makes wrestling at its most interesting. I wholeheartedly agree. There's a brand new kayfabe in play here, and it's hyping me at least up. Cody also says every different wrestling site has a different report of what's going to happen, and I honestly don't think anybody truly knows. I've been trying to veer away from this one a little bit. As you guys know, I will speculate under speculation, and I've tried to do that, but I have not at any point said, this is guaranteed, because so much isn't. I saw a pivot coming, but I wasn't sure, so I couldn't commit to it. Thankfully, the pivot has now happened, and I can report on it. One says, Rock wins an Oscar with that slap of the month. Hector says, if the plan is Becky versus Rhea, what is the point of having the chamber match if it's a foregone conclusion? To make you think maybe it isn't, because after all, The Rock versus Roman wasn't a foregone conclusion. Sean says, I believe if Cody doesn't win a WrestleMania this year, he's done and will never be a world champion. It's far too early to say that anyone's done and will never be a world champion. That said, I do think it has to be now. Martin, you are essentially funding my YouTube endeavours entirely at this point. You have been incredibly generous. Please don't bankrupt yourself looking after me, okay? Thank you very kindly. Another very generous donation. Says, hi mate, hope all good. Will Rock go to Australia as they seem to set up a tag match night 1? Cody finishes the story night 2. P.S. Love the change now to more adult content. Am I flashing? Is that what's happening? I do apologise. Roger says, let's see if the fans cheer Bayley on SmackDown tonight. I suspect the lack of her will mean she does. Robin Dave says, what did I miss? Also, so does this mean we ain't getting Rock versus Roman? I will recap once we get to the end of our current news. Eddie, big signs? As in, is there, like, signs coming? There will be signs. Noob says, who will challenge the Kabuki Warriors? Still to play out. They're waiting on what happens with Raquel Rodriguez. Yeah, Drew McIntyre is doing great things with social media right now. He really is. Sean says, what do you think Triple H's announcement is tonight? I think it'll be a recap of what just happened. Joey says, do you know if there's a push for Drew to face Seth at Mania? Not really, but there is by fans. Because he isn't signed to a new deal, they're not intending to push him. Until he signs a new deal, not going to happen. Eddie, I have no knowledge about where WrestleMania 41 is going to be taking place. We have 125 people here, 59 likes. Can you be the one that gets me to 60? Eric says, Rock came off like a petulant child at the ice cream shop to me. Wiggly says, someone pretending to be Mercedes and a partner, that person needs some help, methinks. I agree. Spiderboss says, I checked that comment of that so-called Mercedes fans on Twitter. It was weird. Brad also says it was creepy, but yeah. Eric says, according to PWInsider, Jade Cargill will be appearing on the SmackDown brand leading up to WrestleMania 40. If that's the case, Bianca Belair may well get the match. What's up, KJ? Nice to see you. Razar says, could The Rock be a special guest ref for Cody versus Roman? Once again, everything, guys, everything, every little thing she does is magic is on the table. Eddie says, when did Triple H say what he says? You are lucky, aren't you? Imagine if... I have no idea what you're saying there, Eddie. King Arthur says, hey, do you agree with me they should do Cody versus Rock Elimination Chamber? No. Robin Dave says, what does this mean for the future of Rock and Roman? It's longer term than you'd think. 23 says, should AEW bring in Vince Russo? No, never. I've answered that question from you before. Some of your questions really confuse me. Really confuse me. King Arthur, just to be clear, the Elimination Chamber is built around the women's match at WrestleMania, that being Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. They are not planning to sweep all that aside, as they've already swept aside a women's main event from the last 2 years of WrestleMania. Chris says, I just got back from reading your tweet on Mercedes. All I can say is wow. A lot of stuff there, Wiggly. It's fantasy booking. Cool. Alan says, I could see Team Rock versus Team Triple H in War Games. Nope, not going to happen. Michael says, it's funny seeing the whole Bloodline family tree to think that Samoa Joe is the only Samoan not related to any of them, but he is still my favourite Samoan named Joe. Spiderboss says, Cody's fans complaining for nothing. Nope, that's not what happened. Not even slightly what happened. The match was pivoted because Cody fans stepped up and said no. Okay? We're not going to pretend anyone's whining or bitching. A movement happened on social media. That movement won. That movement deserved to win. We've shot straight up from 59 to 69 likes. Again, guys, be the one. Be the one. Cody says, that's why we love watching your streams. Thank you, Cody. Appreciate you. Roger says, I'd be more happy to see Camille in AEW than Mercedes Money. Why? And Godfather says, is there a chance we get Rock versus Roman versus Cody? Alyssa says, don't want to see Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. Don't like BC. Rhea Ripley star more deserved. Beat her. It lame if Becky Lynch beats her. Wasn't happy take off NXT Women's Champion. Caesar says, maybe this leads to the Bloodline versus the Bloodline at War Games. Nope. Luke says, how is The Rock so big? Do you think being away from the wellness policy means he's jacked with steroids? Nope. I think he basically has all the time in the world to work out. Wiggly says, I'm waiting for Kyrie to play the Kabuki Warriors theme on the recorder again. Why everyone got to repeat themselves? Why? Wiggly says, I'm aware that WrestleMania 42 might be taking place somewhere closer to home. Okay. David says, Tom, you have any info on the vignettes in NXT? Nope. Kelly says, I definitely think Cody Rhodes finishes the story this year. Daniela says, thoughts on Mello turning on Trick? Ilya Dragunov versus Trick was an absolute banger. Looking forward to the next Dragunov defense of the NXT title. It was very well played, very well put together. NXT does very well with their heel turns. Juan says, according to Dave Meltzer, AEW's morale is high again. Cap or real? Real. CM Punk left and things improved. Spiderboss says it was nice to hear Bianca mention Mercedes Money / Sasha Banks on the press conference last night when she made reference to her WrestleMania main event match. That's because the vast majority of the promos during the press conference were on the spot, made up, ad-libbed, and that meant that they were able to be a lot more genuine with them. Razar says, what's up with the lack of promotion for Bayley and Io? They weren't even mentioned despite them being the only WrestleMania match announced before the press conference. As I say, at the time, there was no plan for any women to feature in that press conference. It's not a great thing. I suspect this one might be intentionally under the radar, and I think that's a real shame. WrestleBuzz says, hey Tom, on the Roman Cody Mania graphic it had Roman labelled as a WWE champion. Are they veering away from calling it undisputed Universal Champion? Yes and no, WrestleBuzz. So the Universal section, I reported this in July, the Universal part of the championship only applies to Roman Reigns. Because if it's not the Universal Championship, it means his current record no longer stands. So they've kept it the Universal Championship purely so that he can keep breaking records. The second he loses that championship, there is no Universal Championship. So whenever someone's actually challenging for it, they're not challenging for the Universal Championship. But he's defending the Universal Championship. Weird to explain, a couple of weeks later, it was reported behind the Fightful paywall as well. Chris says, I believe we're actually getting Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 41. Certainly possible, depending on how WrestleMania 40 plays out. Khalid will be cheering if Becky Lynch wins the Elimination Chamber. Aled says the People's Champion gave the people what they want. If he didn't, he wouldn't be able to call himself a People's Champion. Wiggly, unlikely, but I could potentially try and get a press pass. Mine says, let's get to 100 likes. Come on, guys. Really helps, and it's free. We are at 72 already. Really good number. Thank you to everyone who's hit like already. 3 more to 75. Robin Dave says, some people don't understand that Triple H simply can't wrestle, period. To be fair, everyone here did say they don't expect Triple H to wrestle. Nobody said they were going to have him wrestle. There was talk of like a team, but that was led by Triple H, not in a wrestling capacity. Nobody said they would. Spiderboss says, WWE fans' negative reactions from fans, I thought that only happened under Vince. No. Oh, WWE fear negative reactions? No, never been the case. Wiggly says, AEW putting the tag title on Sting and Darby Allin. Great seeing up-and-comer like Sting hold the title. Yeah, but to be fair, he's not got too long left. It's a nice moment to sign off with. Godfather wants Jinder versus The Rock. I'm kind of behind it. Khalid's excited for Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. That makes one of us. Genuine question, guys. Who here is excited for Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso? Because I'm not. In no way am I excited for it, and I'd love to know if anyone is. Trevor, welcome. Says The Rock helps Roman Reigns keep the belt, and The Rock takes the belt from Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. We are expecting more than one match from The Rock, guys. I reported this on Monday. I haven't seen it reported anywhere else. So I just want to make this clear. The Rock's deal will include more than one match, at least at current. He does have the option to essentially say, nah, I changed my mind, if it doesn't quite play out as he would want it to. Which is funny, but you know, it is what it is. Hector says, I'm glad they didn't keep with Roman versus The Rock just because it would have devalued the Rumble. Thomas says, hi Tom, just joined now. Was wondering what your opinion is of the conference from last night. Sorry if this has already been asked. No need to apologise. I will be recapping everything about the press conference once we've got through most of the news. What I will say, it definitely did what they needed it to. Zane says, I'll never watch Jade Cargill in WWE. Made me angry when Jade beat Taya Valkyrie in AEW. That's Real tribalism right there. Martin says he's making the Raw title seem the B title dangerous considering the Netflix deal. Nope, because here's the thing. By the time the Netflix deal rolls around, that will be the A brand again. You heard me. That will be the A brand again. They've already started making moves and shifting players around to that end. Chris says Bayley's a babyface for the first time since 2019. Indeed. Alex says The Rock staring at CM Punk when Punk said Cody should punch The Rock in the mouth was interesting. He heard him. It was on the loudspeaker. KJ, I believe it's 3 years, but I've not been able to confirm that. Cody says The Rock specifically said Universal Champion versus People's Champion. It's weird that people are talking today about them dropping Universal. Yes, but they don't always say Universal. As I say, defending Universal, not challenging for Universal. Alyssa says they hope don't have Becky Lynch beat Rhea Ripley. Stupid, somebody else deserve beat her. Noob says, will NXT announce the Women's Dusty Classic for the spring? Not that I've heard so far. Martin says Rock sees Cody win, then says Roman let the family down, leads up to possibly SummerSlam. Lots of fantasy booking, loving it, keep it going. The Godfather says, since The Rock is part of the board now, does this mean we get to see him more regularly on WWE events? Yes, we do. I reported on Monday that The Rock is signing on for multiple wrestling matches and is likely to be making a lot of appearances. Keyshawn is excited for a heel Rock. Alice says The Rock on SmackDown tonight. More on that shortly. Keyshawn says Jinder needs to get his revenge. The dude says if Triple H has one last pedigree left in him, Rock should be the one to take it. Not unfair. Mark is excited for Jay versus Jimmy. Daniela says thoughts on Ricochet appearing in the Rumble but not being on Raw since he's underrated and misused. You can't have everyone on at once. There are 30 people in a Rumble. You can't build a show around 30 different people. The Hacker of Tomorrow says, do we get The Rock versus Seth at Mania? Unlikely at this point in time. Cody says, I would enjoy Jimmy versus Jay, Matt versus Jeff, Edge versus Christian, long-time partners, brothers. Spider-Boss says, I think Jimmy versus Jay should have happened after Jimmy turned on Jay. I agree. Juan says, if Rock screws Cody at WrestleMania, we will hear the backlash. Yes, we will, and the WWE will look at that as a massive success. Keyshawn says, do you believe it was a work the whole time? Nope, because it wasn't. HK is hoping Jay versus Jimmy doesn't happen. Jordan's not excited for Jay versus Jimmy. Keyshawn says, who do you see the Kabuki Warriors facing? 4 corners tag match. Roger says, I'd love to see Gilbert versus Hornswoggle. Interesting. Martin says, Cody's nobody cooked for 2 years line, 100% fact. The next piece of news is the instructions that Cody was given. You're going to love this. Daniela says, Jay versus Jimmy has had no build at the moment apart from starting the Rumble, so I can't really judge. Wait until the match with Gunter. Wiggly says, when Punk said that about The Rock, I thought The Rock was going to make his way through the crowd to confront CM Punk. He considered it. He knew better. CM Punk is injured. Luke says, why does The Rock slap his arm during his entrance? Because he had a pain. Bailey says, does the lack of success with Rock's most recent film play a role in him investing more time in WWE? Seems unlikely. I can't guarantee that without speaking to The Rock, like, full on, which I'm not able to do, but it seems unlikely there's a correlation. Anthony says, honestly, I think The Rock is going to turn on Roman at Mania, not out of the goodness of his heart, and help Cody beat Roman. Interesting. Oof, bloody hell. So much fantasy booking. Michael says, how much longer does the Bloodline last? I don't know if the Bloodline goes away. Because we've got The Rock. Let me get to that a little bit later when we talk about The Rock's schedule. But ultimately, I think Solo Sikoa is the next tribal chief. And then it just continues. No, Wiggly, The Rock slapping Cody was not a work. Aled says, Randy Orton said he has receipts for every member of the Bloodline when he came back. He specified every member. Dwayne, look out. More on that shortly. Spider-Boss says, Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania 40. The Rock gets involved, screwing Cody. Lots of fantasy booking. Love to see it. Dan Welcome says, evening, which is still the best opening line. What a few days indeed. Robin Day says, if we're going to build towards Rock and Roman for next year, this is how we get to it. A slow build. This ain't slow, mate. This ain't slow. Godfather says, could we get a Jade and Bianca tag team? We could. I don't understand why we would. Thank you very much, Squid, for becoming a channel supporter. It is as little as $1 a month to become a channel supporter, and you'll get access to all of our members-only content. Tomorrow I'll be uploading a video going through the press conference in more detail, purely to the members-only section. So if you'd like to check that out, becoming a member now is as easy as it can possibly be. There's also a few people here who are extremely generous and often give gifted memberships. And when that happens, please remember to say thank you, because you do get access to some good content, I believe. Caesar says the new Bloodline storyline could be the greatest storyline in wrestling history. Cody says, is there any chance Big E is close enough to return to join New Day versus Imperium? Very unlikely. Sovik, I'm not sure as to Jade Cargill's schedule at the moment. 23 Fresh, nothing on John Cena. Keyshawn says, do you think they'll hold Rock Roman until SummerSlam? I would be purely guessing. Martin says, Cody said, I'll take it all. Remember, maybe Cody and Rock have cooked this whole plan to destroy Roman. I find that extremely unlikely. A troll says, don't believe the report. Which one? There's thousands of them. 23 says, will Austin be at Mania? Roger also says the same thing. Interesting. Nick, The Rock did not join the Bloodline. The Rock founded the Bloodline. I love what you just said there, Godfather. Damian Priest is a bisexual Undertaker. That's a first trap, and I respect it. Spider-Boss says, I like how R-Truth made fun of the Judgment Day on Raw. Wiggly says, is it beyond impossibility having The Rock be in the Hall of Fame? No, he will one day be a first ballot Hall of Famer, guaranteed. Thomas says, there's a storyline sounding like it will be built around family. When is Dustin's contract up? Too late. Okay, once again, troll. Which report? Which one? Ray says, what is your favourite wrestler's theme music? Mine is Cody theme. Ask her. Keyshawn? Any news on The Miz? What news would there be? Zachary is saying, why are you talking like that? Well, what I do is I form words using the oxygen I breathe in. Then I say those words and 158 people watch and listen. Pretty happy with that. Spider-Boss says, even Roman looked scared when The Rock slapped Cody. I mean, why the hell not? Steve says, Big E looked great at the presser. Any early thoughts on the WrestleMania 40 hosts? My vote is yes, boy. I would suggest that Big E and CM Punk would make a very good pairing. The swearing was not a part of the script per se, but it wasn't, ruled out. Keyshawn, there is a whole video I've already made about Elimination Chamber matches. Joey says, who do you see challenging Finn and Priest for the tag titles at Elimination Chamber? I don't. Another prediction from Wiggly. Eric says, Tom Colohue's the real one. Thank you, Eric. Callie says, evening, Tom. Hope you're well. Doing well, thank you. And Brad says, well said, Tom. We have 164 people watching. 164 people watching. Thank you to every single one of you, including the trolls who are right now boosting my chat rate and my engagement rate. Thank you, Callie, as well, a member, a channel supporter for 11 months. Thank you very, very kindly for continuing to renew. We have 87 likes. 3 more gets us to 90. Yes, I had to actually count my fingers there because I forgot what I was doing while I was doing it. But let's get to a bit more news and we'll go from there. There will still be questions. Please keep them coming. First piece of news I have is as regards Cody Rhodes. A script was not written for Cody Rhodes. A promo was not planned for Cody Rhodes. Instead, he was given one clear instruction, a very clear instruction as to what he was going to be doing and what his promo was going to be. That instruction was essentially, no more Mr. Nice Cody. Seems to be that the WWE were aware of the amount of hate on social media, essentially saying, why did he step aside? Why is he such a little B? The instruction was no more Mr. Nice Cody, and he delivered that in spades. Next piece of news is as regards the report of WWE Speed. Now, WWE Speed will be a Twitter exclusive 5-minute per week TV show designed essentially to hype up everything to do with wrestling. It will be the most ADHD-friendly wrestling ever, with plans essentially matching YouTube highlight reels and TikTok. It will not be the big-name wrestlers involved, but it will be a huge opportunity to go viral for people like Ricochet, who can create huge moments while being actively filmed and recorded. A lot of people who are currently doing the pre-shows to Raw and SmackDown will be featured heavily on this. Now, the editing will be harsh, and the spots will be often repeated, ensuring lots of, for example, replay value. The audio will be heavily controlled to make a essentially idealized version of what wrestling is. The conversation around WWE Speed started as a Vince McMahon project in conjunction with Elon Musk directly to get more content onto the X platform. Elon Musk is also talking to people like Mr. Beast right now about making this happen. He wants video content to move away from YouTube, move away from TikTok onto his platform. You may have seen that over the last few days, I've been experimenting a little bit with the platform as well to see if I can make something of it too. I'll let you know what the end results are, but that's the plan for WWE Speed. Brief, viral moments. The idea is you start playing it and you cannot take your eyes away. That's the hope. Anyway. Martin, another very generous donation, says, I know I've asked you privately, mate, but is a profanity and more real things a new direction? Are USA okay with it? We even got Drew's a prick. Monday. Essentially, with the new deal signed, the WWE don't much care about swearing on WWE programming anymore, because wherever they are, they ain't going to be staying there. Now, admittedly, there's still going to be a platform for SmackDown, but WWE Raw is going to Netflix, where essentially they can do what they want. Netflix has communicated very openly, it's your show, do what you want with it. And they're going to. I'm excited about it. And thank you, Selvik, for 3 months. I remember the day you came into this channel and immediately became a member, and you've been one for 3 months. It feels like yesterday. Welcome, sir. So nice to see you. So nice to see you. Mark says, do you think WWE will allow more swearing? Yes, I do. HCast says, any news on Pat McAfee? What sort of news are you looking for there? Wiggly says, the WrestleMania logo is even the Liberty Bell, the symbol of American independence, so it makes sense. King Azza says, do you see Rikichi getting involved? Nope. Alan says, what did Triple H say after The Rock said what he said? I didn't catch it. Well, what The Rock says, I believe, is The Rock said. Or is it, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Not this year, Wiggly. Luke says, will we see more authority heel Rock, including his daughter as new GM, becoming an authority heel? The two things may be tied together. Keyshawn says, who do you see Mercedes Money's first feud in AEW? I still believe Saraya will be the first feud. It will be very high profile, will definitely get eyes, and is something that both women really want to make happen. Joey says, why haven't there been qualifying matches for the men's chamber match yet? Because there hasn't been an announcement of a men's chamber match yet. If there's no match, there's no qualifying matches. Nearly a year, Callie, very true. Selvik, nothing on Kazuchika Okada at this point. My opinion is still that he will go to AEW. Spider-Boss says, who do you think will face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40? More on that shortly. Jason, ADHD Wrestling. I genuinely mean that. You guys know what I mean. You saw the match between Randy Orton and Edge after all. Same thing. It's been a while. Someone unfollowed and refollowed. Grayson, welcome back to the Twitch side. KJ says, since Rock could be back for numerous matches, who would you like to see Rock face besides Roman? Logan Paul's trying desperately to make it happen. Aled says, I hope Cody brings up that Roman talked about his family first before The Rock went off on him. And Zachary says Roman is having fun with Cody. They're both having a great time, I'll tell you that. Bailey says, Tom Colohue speed. I see the vision. Joey says, is this speed concept going to be like the Cruiserweight Classic with the high-flying matches? That is similar to what I've said, yes. And Luke, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Spider-Boss says, I really loved how The Rock made fun of Cody's fans on the Pat McAfee show. Knew what he was doing. And Martin says, hope we don't get blood every main event, though. Has to say genuine and special. There is no intention to do that. Callie says, I wondered what they were saying as so much got bleeped out. They were basically saying naughty words. Selvik says, I love every spoiler warning and other shows, so I appreciate your work a lot. Thank you, Tom, for all the stuff you put out. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate that. I work hard to try and be... try and create things that people enjoy, and it's really nice to hear from you that you're actively enjoying it. Absolutely lovely. Wiggly says, is Mercedes a big moment happening at the AEW Dynamite event in Boston that Tony alluded to? Yes. Kevin says, good evening, Tom and chat. Triple H mentioned at the presser we will experience an all-new WWE. Does this point towards a more sports presentation, or is there more to it? That's the basis, and I've reported on that previously. He's also making a reference to investors that it's him in charge now, and that actually means in charge of The Rock as well. The Rock is back. Vince McMahon is gone. They are making a very clear signal to investors that you can trust the company. Hector says, Tom, have you heard anything about where Raw will be televised here in the US between when the NBC Universal deal ends and the Netflix deal begins? I honestly have not, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to explain, but I'm not able to. Thank you very much, Mike. Retro Mike Tech says, big fan, and also gives a very generous donation. Been quietly listening to your streams for 2 years. I do remember the name, though I don't see it often. Keep up with the great work. Thank you very kindly. Very generous of you. I really do appreciate it. That's absolutely lovely of you. And then follows up with even more. 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. One goes to Mark, one goes to Brad, one to Aled, one to Bismo, one to Edward Brooks as well. Please do remember to say thank you to Mike, and just thank you very kindly, Mike, once again. That's extremely generous of you. Thank you very much. Love a lurker. Spiderboss says, with the AEW ranking system, I think it would take a little bit for Mercedes to face Toni Storm. I agree, and I don't think she's going to be going for that immediately. Yes, I do believe it is the age of ADHD, Jason. We are all a little bit less focused than we have been. Martin says 160 on, that's amazing, but only 91 likes. Let's smash through 100. 91 indeed, 9 more gets us to 100. If you haven't hit like yet, please do consider it. Michael says, where will the speed matches take place? They are likely to be recorded before WWE Raw and SmackDown, with a crowd. Cody says, was the backstage post-event segment with Rock Triple H planned, or was that something that they decided to post after seeing how it played out? I did mention that earlier. I will mention it in the recap. There was an ad-lib involved there. Wiggly says, I know the focus is on Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania 40. What's happening about the UK PLE? I have no news at this point in time other than what I've already mentioned. At this point, there is no clear sign as to a UK PLE. Negotiations are still actively ongoing. The WWE want Wembley, but they do believe they're still going to get big money offers from other parts of the UK. No, Thomas Phipps, there will not be a watch-along tonight. Yeah, Wiggly, Pat lost himself for a moment there, but I do feel that makes him even more genuine a wrestler. Mark says, I forgot to ask this, but I saw you post a pic of Linda and Vince on X. Was wondering what that was about. So the removal of certain Vince McMahon loyalists backstage has already begun. I can't report more on that at this time because there is an ongoing lawsuit, but it has already begun. Robin Dave says, Roman's 3.5-year title reign has been awesome. Here's to WWE and Roman himself for making him this unstoppable villain. Roger says, former WWE star Virgil is said to not be doing well after suffering several strokes. Fans asked to send prayers. Source Wrestling News. Thank you for mentioning that, Roger. If you are someone who prays, please do consider... Who prays, please consider doing so. Enjoying seeing everyone share the love with Mike there. Thank you, guys. Wiggly says, the whole event on Thursday, WWE did have a more sporty feel. Once I do the recap, you guys will realise that we're all on the same page. Bismo says, ADHD wrestling reminds me of something like focusing on someone, and then they go, hey, look, squirrel. Someone's watched Up recently. Spiderboss says, I think The Rock forgot it's a PG show. He was specifically told you're absolutely fine. Wiggly says, The Rock will cite the language he uses is educational. Godfather, I'm not going to give an early prediction. What I will say is I don't expect Roman Reigns to be as integral to WrestleMania from 40 to 50 as it has been from 30 to 40. Wiggly says there's the whole point of all these twists and turns with what might be the main event is to get the discussion away from all the negative stuff that's been happening. Nope, it's to hype a main event of WrestleMania. Though, of course, they're not unhappy with the focus being shifted. Coon says, I personally think Bayley and Io should have had a segment on the press conference. I wholeheartedly agree. HCar, everything about Elimination Chamber that I have is already on a video on this channel. Spiderboss says, the women's division of WWE went from 2 WrestleMania main events to now barely any TV time. C-Mac says, will Roman and The Rock be on SmackDown this evening? More on that shortly. Gold says, WWE made the right choice to not overspend on free agents. They're on fire right now. They don't need anyone else. They'll be picking up a couple of people, but they're happy with who they have. BP. Who's that, Martin? Marcel says, hi Tom, would like to say that I look forward to spoiler warning on Monday and Friday every weekend, that I like that everyone here in the chat is so nice and good to each other. Thank you, Marcel, that's nice to hear, and also I wholeheartedly agree. We have not just the most well-informed chat in wrestling, but one of the most positive chats in wrestling. We lift each other. Just noticed, Grayson, thank you kindly for throwing in a subscription from Amazon Prime on the Twitch side. Very generous. I didn't spot it a moment ago. Thank you very much for that. It got a little bit lost in other things, and I do apologise. Thank you for everyone's continued generosity. I think this is actually the most financially successful stream we've ever had because of how generous all of you are. So thank you. And yes, Marcel, I wholeheartedly agree. Daniela says, what brand do you reckon Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes end up on? I don't even know if they're certain at this point. Spider-Boss says, Laurinaitis' lawyer said WWE were aware of the accusation made by Ashley Mazzaro that she was abused in Kuwait years ago. Let's get on to that. So that is something that does need a little bit of discussion. I won't be going into the nature of the allegations too heavily, but it is not a secret. The allegations are out there. The allegations were out there for a while. Anyone from WWE saying that they are unaware either haven't looked or are lying to you, because they were not hidden. Ashley Mazzaro did make clear the situation, and you're able to find those details if you search for them. This has been out there for years. It's just now coming back to light because of everything about Vince McMahon. John Laurinaitis, I suspect, is ensuring, just in pure speculation, it feels very scorched earth to me. Steve, how you doing, mate? Says, what's happening, Tom? Hope you in the chat are doing well. Doing very well, thank you. Nice to see you, mate, and I hope your channel's doing good too. Wiggly says there might be another press conference, so hopefully Io and Bayley will get a spotlight. There will be more press conferences, not about this one. Gotcha, Martin, thank you. Dylan says, hi, Tom, do you think it'll be a triple threat? Nope, but I do think everything's on the table. Number the Devil says exactly the same thing. We're getting a lot of double questions here. Thank you, Daniela. Lovely to see. We have 98 likes. 2 more to the 100. 2. Leon says, I'd rather see Okada versus Chad Gable than Ivar versus Chad Gable. Not many people wouldn't. Kevin says, Michael Cole mentioned Pat McAfee was undefeated at Mania. Endeavour slowly giving Vince the name redacted treatment. Yes, that is literally what they're doing. Khalid, Triple H cannot get involved. Aled says, are videos or wrestlers post on social media their choice, or do the company tell them to? Like Drew's video and Cody saying he's made big decisions, made his decision. I've always wondered these things. Bit of both. WWE does plan certain announcements out, but consider the fact that a wrestler can now make a lot of money on Twitter using social media and videos and stuff. So why wouldn't you? That's your money. Luke says, I hope the best for your channel and that you can focus on it as a career eventually. Thank you very much for that. The intention this year, the target this year, is for 1 million views. Let's just say I'm on track. So far this year, we've had about 67,000. Over the course of the year, of course, we will gain momentum, and as we get towards WrestleMania, that will gain as well. But let's just say I'm not sure whether today's spoiler warning, peaking at 163 viewers, has beaten spoiler warning from Monday. Because I genuinely can't remember. I know it was 160 something, but I also know it's a huge number. So huge thank you to everyone. It will be a long time before I can do this full time. We're talking 1 million views every single month. That's not going to be easy. But what I will say is it gets closer every time we have a generous donation, someone hits like, or someone drops something in the chat. Little things like that go a long way. KJ says, Tom, is Cody, Roman and Rock all good? No real heat? Nope. Martin says, I won't go into it as it's disgusting if allegedly true, but it's been back for a while and many things on YouTube about it, sadly. Yes, very true. Wiggly says, in all this hype for WrestleMania, I forgot about Damien and his briefcase. I didn't. I've laid out exactly what I'm expecting. Chris says, hey Tom, in The Observer, they mentioned Jimmy Hart wrote a blog post about tribute to the troops at the time that mentioned Mazzaro receiving medical attention after falling ill. There is a lot of information in that if certain people will find interesting if they want to know more about allegations against the WWE. Ended this... Not yet, Wiggly. Not yet. Brock Lesnar isn't on screen, but he's not name redacted because he's not named in the lawsuit. Bismo says, I can't imagine how many more victims will now come forward due to the scandal. Makes me sad. We don't know 100% if there's going to be that many of them. We'll wait and see what happens. At this point, it's mostly speculation. Graham Pierce, thrilled to be the 100th like. Graham, I've been really enjoying. I think I've hit like on a few of them. I apologise if I haven't hit like on more. I've been really enjoying seeing you train for the Rumble at PCW. For anyone who isn't aware, I'll retweet something from you at some point just to make sure everyone here can see it. Graham Pierce is a ring announcer for PCW. He's currently training in a full suit for a Rumble. It's genuinely great TV, mate. Keep it up. Spider-Ball says, with WWE raising any reference to Brock Lesnar, they're not. They're not doing that. Kelly says, hey Tom, how come there's no SmackDown watch-alongs anymore? Couple of things. Firstly, family commitments. I have more of them now. Secondly, there is a wrestler featured in that I cannot in good conscience support. I cannot legally give any detail on that. But if anyone is willing to do a Google, you will find out. Spider-Boss says, sometimes it annoys me. Sean Ross Sapp takes credit for the Mercedes money news that you give us. Par for the course, it does happen. Godfather says, why isn't Seth Rollins fighting back on the disrespect that Roman keeps giving him? He is, as best he can. And Wiggly says, it's all speculation, I know. With the federal investigation happening, forgive my stupidity in asking, does this mean Vince or others could face prosecution? Yeah, it's a federal investigation. If you'll forgive the referral. Zane says, who do you think will win Africa Cup of Nations? I have no idea who's even left. More news to come. We have 104 likes. Let's talk about Roman Reigns and SmackDown tonight. Per PWInsider, Roman Reigns is not planned for SmackDown tonight, but you do have information on that one already if you're a regular here on Spoiler Warning. As recorded right here, he's low on dates left in his contract and they're protecting his time for post-WrestleMania. He does have a contract renewal coming up. WWE are confident they'll be able to get it over the line, but there are a few steps that need to be respected in order to get to that point. The plan at the moment seems to be for both The Rock and Roman Reigns to dovetail like two heads of one hydra vouching for each other, meaning that while we get less of Roman, we get more of The Rock. When we get less of The Rock, we get more of Roman, and thus we still see the bloodline represented often. The Rock is the only name considered big enough to be an able replacement for Roman Reigns. And to be fair, I would agree with that. And finally, Seth Rollins will be facing the winner of the Elimination Chamber match, the men's Elimination Chamber. We will start to see build to that likely tonight and then going forwards on Monday Night Raw because they're low on time to actually do it. This was always the plan, with Cody being bumped without much consideration for what his opponent would end up being. There was an option of Cody versus Randy Orton that was mentioned in creative, but without much, shall we say, oomph behind it. CM Punk would have been the guy to win the Elimination Chamber. We knew already that he was the plan to face Seth Rollins. They are now pivoting on this. If Drew McIntyre signs a new deal, he'll have more of a shot. I'm looking more towards the Sami Zayns, for example, but there's a number of people it could be. No one as big as CM Punk. I'm going to catch up with the chat and then recap our top story for anyone who missed it about The Rock and about the press conference. Daniela just says, Cody. He has to dethrone Roman at WrestleMania 40. If he doesn't, I don't know when he ever would. Callie says, shame, I really enjoy your watch-alongs, but family come first. Hope all is well with them. Thank you very much, Callie. There's been some exhausting days recently. They do a lot. Well, Zane, I promise you, I'm not. Martin says, is Cody being announced for tonight or be on SmackDown? Not to my knowledge, no. Aled says, have you got more plans on doing interviews? I enjoyed the last one you did. Thank you for that, Aled. It's actually got a good number of views, and overall I'm happy with the end result of it. There's a few more clips I can post, and I'm planning to spread them out a little bit as it goes. I'm happy overall with the input there, and I do think AJ has asked potentially if I can hook him up with some connections over here in the UK, so I'll try and do that and see what we can make happen as well, because certainly that opens a few doors for him. Interviews and stuff like that should be symbiotic. You know, the whole point of that is I get the interview, I get to ask the questions I want, some of them more intense as it were, but also, to be fair, my platform is helping him, so it is a symbiotic relationship. And honestly, I think AJ is a good guy, and I'd like to be more involved in helping him if I can. Koo says, people are using Zero News as their source again. Not for long. Steve says, with the current state of things, is it likely Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank as a last minute as possible? I don't know what the longest is. Relatively last minute. I've already laid out exactly what I think will be happening there. Martin says, where does Jay fit into this, or does he? Nope. Spider-Boss says, The Rock appearing tonight would be fun. And Chris says, thank you, Tom, for entertaining me while I shop for groceries. I respect what you're doing there. Martin does that every now and then when he's driving. The show can be watched on a TV, it can be watched on a phone, it can be watched on a computer. My favourite thing is that it can be watched with headphones and just listened to. It doesn't have to be something you watch per se. you can listen to this while out and about. And I still get all of the benefit of that. Having you as a viewer, having you in the chat, having you hit like. I still get all the benefit of it. So thank you very kindly. HCar says, Tom, do you think Judgment Day will lose the tag team championships? Yes, because they are not immortal. Mine says, the SmackDown watch-alongs gone forever or just for a while? I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure. I'm considering my options, but at the moment, I'm really enjoying not being awake until 3 a.m. once a week. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. Jack says, Cody is listed to be on SmackDown on February 9th, 2024. Thank you. Alex says, remember I told you Monday, Zero News said there was no chance the Rock and Roman was changing. Now he's saying they will have a trilogy. Yeah, I saw. I've been very clear on this. Last year's Royal Rumble, when Zero News said it would end with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin having a stare down, I went into all of their reports and made it clear. Most of them were complete crap. I'm salty as well, Wiggly, for many reasons, many reasons. And yes, Spider-Boss, I'm still expecting Heist of the Century 2. WrestleBus says, I'm also a listener while I'm at work. Set my alarm for 5 p.m. every Monday and Friday. Lovely. Great to hear it. Bismo says, I've even listened via Bluetooth speaker in the shower. It is TMI, but I still respect you for it. Because ultimately, you're still helping my channel. And I'm grateful. Let's recap. So, our top story was about The Rock, the pivot from Rock versus Roman to Roman versus Cody, and of course, the press conference that just took place. So the conference originally was booked so The Rock and Roman Reigns could have a weigh-in / stare down. This has now pivoted. While the event did sell a lot of tickets for the after party, it was not generally well attended, despite all the hype and the fact that The Rock was there. WWE were disappointed with the turnout, and in many ways, while The Rock was promising high views, high attendances, it's a black mark on his ledger since his return. The Rock held meetings with Triple H and Brian Gewirtz over the last few days, their first real interaction heavy with creative. On advice from Triple H, he's pivoted to a heel, and in many ways, he's now aligned with Roman Reigns. Roman does feel a little reduced by the connection, but The Rock has fully embraced the heel character, and everyone agrees this is the right way to go. The WWE did indeed intend for The Rock to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but Triple H has called the audible, and The Rock has listened. Triple H always wanted Cody back in the main event, but not necessarily this soon. The deal between Triple H and The Rock essentially came down to read the room. The Rock did ad-lib the segment where he told Triple H to fix it on the way out while Triple H was being interviewed. This is being looked at as proof of his commitment to the concept. Triple H didn't know how to react, and The Rock eventually veered off and backed out, but this actually came together very nicely, and the spot has gone relatively viral. This press conference is planned to be the first of many, with plans to legitimize the WWE as a genuine sport. The Rock and Nick Khan are at the forefront of plans in an attempt to draw as much mainstream attention as possible. Largely for them, mission accomplished. It is a massive success for the WWE in terms of business investment and overall creative impact, plus social media score, though they did suffer a little from a lack of attendance. The original press conference plan had a Lesnar-Gunter stare down. With Lesnar out of the picture, this was replaced by Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. While that match still hasn't technically been made official, the WWE were attempting to connect with mainstream media who aren't watching week in and week out. CM Punk was on the kickoff panel, and that seems possible to happen again going forwards. The commentary change came at an awkward time for CM Punk, or it had been a shoo-in for Pat McAfee's role. Finally, when it comes to the instructions that Cody Rhodes was given for his promo, all he was really told was some variation of, "No more Mr. Nice, Cody." And I think we can all respect the end result of that. Roger, Louis Dangoor is no longer a wrestling journalist at all after the whole sex pizza scandal. He was one of the journalists who had my phone number around the same time I started receiving death threats over the phone. He is still working, to my knowledge, for his previous outlet, which I will not name, under a ghost name. And Jordan says, don't forget Drew was meant to win at Clash. Zero news. Yeah, I really do feel at times like I'm the only one who stayed firm on that. A lot of people really did decide, oh no, it's definitely not Drew. It's definitely not Roman. It has to be Drew. Has to be Drew. It just isn't. It just absolutely isn't. It's just a real shame. I don't know. Weird. Martin says, can't remember where, but heard people say Punk could host Mania. I think that's just wishful thinking at this point. Spider-Boss says, I wish WWE would have changed their mind when they gave Ronda the 2022 Women's Rumble match and the WrestleMania match versus Charlotte at Mania 38. Cody is very lucky. The plan was literally contractual. Literally contractual that they had to give Ronda the match. I'm just checking now to see if anyone's live for a raid. Not that I can see. Unfortunately, no one connected to my section. I do see Steve, but that's actually on the 13th, so a while away. Nice to be ahead of time. No, Wiggly, I do not. Anthony says, Tom, what shocking twist can you see happening with this storyline with Cody, The Rock and Roman, in terms of something you don't expect happening? The thing I don't expect happening, honestly, is a win for Roman. I have no idea who that is, Wiggly, and I will not be raiding a stranger. WrestleBuzz says, I saw tweets that certain media got denied access after the event last night. Have you heard any more on that? I haven't heard anything on that. Literally anything. Haven't heard that it's ever happened. What tweets did you see, WrestleBuzz? What's your source? Bismo says, is Punk basically just going to do pre-show commentary for PLEs while in recovery mode? That's certainly been pitched, yes. That's an idea, and I think he'll take it. Anthony said, if they were setting up the matchup with Roman and Cody, why bring up Seth on the stage in the first place unless they're planning to make it a fatal four-way match? Because ultimately, they still needed to create the illusion that Cody might pick Seth. H-Car? No. Maybe? No. Alex says, I might have to try and get interviews and stuff for my channel. Maybe it'll help us grow. I don't know how to do that, though. Just reach out to people. Twitter generally works. Just obviously start quite low down the pecking order. And Roger says, Bret Hart insists he has absolutely zero respect for Vince McMahon amid sex trafficking allegations. Claims he does not think this is the only incident of this kind. Source, Daily Mail. Thank you for sourcing. We are going to wrap up there. We peaked at 163 people, maintaining our momentum from Monday. Huge numbers. Thank you to all of you. We nearly have 1,000 views right now. We have 108 likes. And more than anything, what we've had is fun. We've had fun. Thank you for sourcing WrestleBuzz. So at this point, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to say a massive thank you to all of you as always, and I will see you all for WTF Wrestling on Sunday, tomorrow on the members only section for more on this press conference, and of course, for more spoiler warning on Monday. Thank you, Moody. Appreciate you. Until then, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.